For 50 years, Hollywood said Dune was impossible to adapt. The book was too complex, too philosophical, too weird, too big. One director went mad trying. Another spent 14 years and never finished. And then Denis Villeneuve walked in and said, "Give me the budget. I'll do it right." This is the story behind the film that saved a franchise, silenced the doubters, and became one of the greatest sci-fi epics ever made. In 1965, Frank Herbert published Dune. It took him 6 years to write. 12 publishers rejected it before anyone said yes. When it finally came out, it changed everything. Dune became the best-selling sci-fi novel of all time. It influenced Star Wars, Avatar, Game of Thrones, and dozens of other stories you know and love. George Lucas openly admitted that the desert planet Tatooine was inspired by Arrakis. The spice inspired the Force. The Chosen One prophecy? All Herbert. But for decades, nobody could turn it into a film that worked. Alejandro Jodorowsky, 1970s. The first serious attempt to adapt Dune is now legendary. Not because it succeeded, but because of how spectacularly it failed. Jodorowsky spent years building the most ambitious film never made. He recruited Salvador Dali, Mick Jagger, and Orson Welles. He hired H.R. Giger, who later designed the alien for the visuals. The planned runtime? 14 hours. The studio pulled the plug. The film never happened. But Jodorowsky's concept art directly inspired Alien, Flash Gordon, and The Terminator. Then came David Lynch. His version of Dune actually got made, and it was a disaster. Lynch had Final Cut taken away from him by the studio. The result was a film that confused audiences, flopped at the box office, and left Lynch so embarrassed he removed his name from the director's credit on the TV version. He has never spoken positively about the experience since. For 30 years after Lynch's version, Dune was considered a cursed property. Nobody wanted to touch it. Denis Villeneuve had already proven himself with Arrival and Blade Runner 2049, two films that showed he understood how to make intelligent, patient, visually stunning science fiction. When the rights to Dune became available, he went after them aggressively. His condition? He would only make it if they let him split the book into 2 films. He refused to compress Herbert's world into one movie. He'd seen what happened to Lynch. Legendary Pictures agreed. Warner Brothers agreed. And Villeneuve spent 2 years in pre-production, designing every costume, every vehicle, every creature from scratch. He wanted Dune to feel like a documentary about a real civilization, not a Hollywood fantasy. The casting was meticulous. Timothée Chalamet was chosen because Villeneuve wanted someone who looked genuinely fragile, someone the audience would believe might break under the weight of destiny. Zendaya had only a handful of scenes in Part 1, but Villeneuve made her the centerpiece of the marketing. He already knew what Part 2 would require. The sound design took over a year. Hans Zimmer turned down Christopher Nolan's Tenet, a film he had worked with Nolan on for years, specifically so he could score Dune instead. He considered it the most important musical challenge of his career. So why did Villeneuve succeed where everyone else failed? 3 reasons. First, he respected the source material. He didn't try to make Dune more accessible. He trusted that audiences were smart enough for a slow, complex, layered story. And he was right. Second, he thought in images. Every frame of Dune was designed to communicate something without dialogue. The scale of the sandworms tells you the danger. The emptiness of the desert tells you the loneliness. You understand this world without being told about it. Third, he was patient. Villeneuve refused to rush. He spent more time in pre-production than most directors spend on entire films. That patience is visible in every single shot. The result was a film that grossed over $400 million worldwide, despite being released simultaneously in cinemas and on HBO Max during a pandemic. And when Part 2 came out in 2024, it made over $700 million. Dune was no longer a cursed property. It was a franchise. The story behind Dune is really a story about persistence. Herbert's persistence in writing a book nobody wanted to publish. Villeneuve's persistence in making a film nobody believed could work. And the audience's persistence in showing up, even after 50 years of failed attempts. Sometimes the stories that are hardest to tell are the ones most worth telling. That's the story behind Dune. If this hit you, subscribe for more stories like this. And drop in the comments, did you think Dune would succeed before it came out? See you in the next one.